The air hums with tension before the words even land. The stage lights burn gold against a deep blue backdrop. The Future of American Leadership Forum. A murmur ripples through the crowd as Barron Trump, tall, assured, every inch his father's son, leans toward the mic. Cameras lock in. Millions are watching. He asks the question like a statement. President Obama, with all due respect, do you still believe your kind of leadership works in today's America? The words hang, a spark in a room full of gasoline. For a moment, nobody breathes. The moderator freezes mid-smile. The audience shifts in their seats, torn between curiosity and disbelief. The younger viewers lean forward. The older ones frown. Somewhere, a microphone squeals faintly, as if the air itself recoils. Obama's eyes rise slowly, calm, unshaken. That signature half-smile plays across his face, the one that says he's already 5 steps ahead. He doesn't reach for the mic right away.
He lets the silence do the work. The camera pans across the audience, students gripping notebooks,
Journalists poised over keyboards, influencers with phones raised, waiting to capture history in a few seconds of video. Barron's expression hardens, the confidence of youth meeting the weight of experience. He repeats himself, softer this time, but sharper, because a lot of people think your way, careful speeches, compromise, hope, doesn't work anymore. Maybe it never did. A few gasps escape from the front row. Someone whispers, "Did he really just say that?" Obama leans forward now, elbows on the table. The overhead lights catch the gray in his hair, the quiet authority in his posture. He finally speaks, but not yet to answer. He says low and deliberate, "Young man." That's an interesting question. The audience laughs nervously, unsure if it's humor or warning. Then silence again. Heavy. Electric. The camera zooms in on Barron's eyes, defiant, searching. On Obama's, steady, unreadable. The anchor's voice fades in over the stillness, trembling slightly with the weight of the moment. What came next? Silenced the entire room. And just as the screen cuts to black, the narrator's voice slips through the static. But no one, not even the moderators, expected what Obama said next. The moment the clip hit the airwaves, it was everywhere. A single question from Barron Trump had split screens across America. Within minutes, hashtags flooded every feed. Obama vs. Barron, next-gen leadership, the question. News anchors spoke over looping footage of Obama's measured pause, each network adding its own spin. Was it bravery or arrogance? The setting itself made it bigger than a headline. The National Youth Leadership Forum, streamed live across 3 major networks, framed as a conversation between generations. On one side, Barack Obama, composed, deliberate, his legacy defined by speeches that had once lit up the world. On the other, Barron Trump, the quiet heir to a dynasty built on disruption, now stepping into the limelight with a question meant to challenge history itself. The moderator had called it a conversation about the future of leadership, but from the moment Barron leaned into the microphone, it became something else entirely, a symbolic showdown between 2 Americas. Obama represented experience earned through struggle, the belief that progress required patience, that unity demanded restraint. Barron embodied the new wave, impatient, bold, raised in an era of instant influence where virality mattered more than validation. Narrator voice sharpens. This wasn't just a question, it was a challenge to everything Obama had stood for. Clips of reactions play out like a national chorus. One tweet reads, "He's really going there." Another, "Finally, someone's questioning the myth of hope." Others clap back, "That's not courage, and that's inherited confidence." The divide was immediate. For some, Barron symbolized youthful fearlessness. For others, he embodied the danger of unearned certainty. And hovering in the middle of it all, Obama's silence stretching across screens, calm as the eye of a storm. Commentators on late-night panels leaned forward. Did we just witness the passing of the torch, or the testing of one? The tension wasn't just about politics. It was about what America wanted to become, louder or wiser, faster or steadier, proud or principled. And as the networks replayed that moment in endless loops, one truth emerged. This wasn't going to fade overnight, because to understand why that single question shook millions, you have to see what led up to it. Before that question echoed through the hall, Barron Trump had already been building a reputation. One part intrigue, one part controversy. No longer the quiet teenager hidden from the spotlight, he'd become a young voice in political media, articulate, deliberate, but unmistakably molded by the Trump legacy. Clips from interviews roll through the national consciousness. Barron at podiums, podcasts, and youth summits, talking about strength, winning, dominating the narrative. Each appearance polished, confident, the cadence familiar to anyone who'd watched his father's rallies. He often spoke of legacy like it was armor. "In my family," he once said, "leadership means never backing down. Ever." The audience cheered. The comment trended. But beneath the applause was something quieter, the weight of expectation. Every gesture compared to his father's, every opinion dissected as prophecy. Barron's public persona was forged in scrutiny. The name Trump carried both power and burden, and he knew it. Analysts debated whether he was his father's echo or his own man. Supporters called him bold for his age. Critics called him reckless, privileged, too sure of himself. But either way, people watched, and he liked that they did. In one viral clip, Barron told an interviewer, "The problem with modern politics is weakness. My generation doesn't need speeches. It needs strength." That line became his signature, repeated, remixed, turned into a slogan by fans who saw him as the future. But for others, it revealed something deeper, a definition of leadership shaped by conquest, not compassion. He didn't seek chaos for its own sake. He sought control. In his mind, leadership wasn't about connection. It was about command. And every interview, every headline, every echo of applause seemed to confirm it. So when the invitation to share a stage with Barack Obama arrived, Barron didn't hesitate. He saw it not as dialogue, but as a test, a chance to measure legacy against legacy, name against name. But that confidence carried its own shadow. Because when the cameras rolled and the question left his lips, something unexpected happened. In that single moment on stage, the man he challenged didn't fight back. He taught. In the years since leaving the White House, Barack Obama has lived in a rhythm almost opposite to the chaos he once commanded. No motorcades screaming through traffic, no flashing red lights of breaking news. Just a quiet office overlooking the city, a stack of marked-up manuscripts, and a calendar filled not with summits of power, but with mentorship sessions for young community leaders trying to make sense of a fractured age. The cameras find him, now in smaller rooms, a university auditorium, a youth foundation, a podcast studio. His voice is softer but sharper. He speaks not to dominate the conversation, but to guide it. Every word measured, every pause intentional. The work of change, he tells a group of students in one clip, isn't about noise. It's about patience. It's about showing up when nobody's clapping. Outside, the world has changed. Politics has become faster, meaner, designed for clips instead of convictions. Yet Obama remains steady, a symbol of calm in a country addicted to chaos. Flashbacks cut in, each memory more cinematic than the last. The 2008 victory speech in Chicago, that sea of faces lit by hope, the words, "Yes, we can," echoing across history. The 2011 address from the East Room, calm, resolute, announcing that Osama bin Laden had been brought to justice. Then his farewell speech, voice cracking slightly as he spoke of dignity, unity, and the belief that democracy only works when people still believe in each other. Each moment is a study in composure, not the absence of feeling, but mastery over it. He's not the loudest man in the room anymore. He never was. And yet, his presence still feels larger than the noise that followed him. Commentators call him the last of the measured statesmen. Admirers call him the voice of reason in an unreasonable era. Even critics concede he never lost his cool. Narrator voice, low and reverent. For Obama, power was never about being loud. It was about being right. It's that quiet confidence, that unshakable composure, that makes him both admired and underestimated. In a political landscape obsessed with immediacy, his calm has become its own kind of rebellion. The footage fades from speeches to solitude, Obama walking a beach with his dog, laughing softly with Michelle, pausing to sign a young activist's copy of his memoir. There's warmth, distance, and something like peace. But beneath that calm still lives the fire of the man who once carried the hopes of millions. He hasn't stopped believing, only learned when to speak. So when his invitation arrived to sit across from Barron Trump at the National Youth Leadership Forum, he didn't see it as a confrontation. He saw it as a classroom, a chance to pass down something the modern world keeps forgetting, that true leadership doesn't roar, it resonates. And yet, as he stepped onto that stage under the blinding lights, even he couldn't have predicted the question that would ignite the night. The crowd leaned in, Barron lifted the mic, and the air turned still as glass. Do you really think your way of leading still works today? In that instant, between the challenge and the response, the world braced for impact. Barron doesn't stop at the first question. The applause fades and he steps in again, confident, sharp, rehearsed. His voice carries a challenge wrapped in politeness. Mr. President, he says, a lot of people think your style of leadership, cautious, diplomatic, always talking about hope, it doesn't work anymore. The world's different now. It rewards strength, not speeches. The words sting, but Obama's face doesn't move. He sits with the patience of a man who's heard every version of this argument before. His hands rest lightly on the table. One thumb brushes the edge of his notepad. Nothing more. Barron presses again, louder this time, sensing the audience's unease. Maybe leadership like yours was fine in 2008 when people believed in change. But now people want action. They want someone who doesn't just talk about unity. They make things happen. A ripple moves through the crowd. Half gasps, half applause. The moderator tries to interject, but it's too late. The debate has taken on a life of its own. Obama's eyes lift, calm and unreadable. His silence stretches longer than the question itself, forcing everyone to feel the weight of what's just been said. The cameras zoom in, his expression steady, almost gentle. The narrator's voice cuts in softly, framing the moment like a collision between two worlds. It wasn't just a generational clash. It was impulse meeting intellect, force meeting focus. On screens across America, viewers split in real time. One post reads, "He's asking what others are too afraid to say." Another, "That's not bravery, that's disrespect." Hashtags flare again. Timelines divide. The moderator shifts in his chair, eyes darting between them. The air thickens. Even Barron seems to hesitate now, realizing he's drawn blood in front of a man who never flinches. Obama still hasn't spoken. His stillness becomes its own kind of power, the kind that doesn't need to fight for attention because it already owns the room. The clock ticks. The audience waits, and then, in one calm breath, Obama leans forward, eyes steady, voice low. He changes the tone of the entire conversation. Obama exhales softly, the kind of breath that carries both patience and purpose. His voice, when it finally comes, isn't loud. It's level, deliberate. The kind of tone that fills a room without trying. Leadership, he begins, isn't about the noise you make while people are watching. The audience goes still. Even the hum of the cameras seems to fade. It's about what you build, he continues, when they stop looking. Each word lands with the weight of something learned the hard way, through years of pressure, through moments when no one was cheering. The crowd leans forward instinctively. Barron blinks, caught between curiosity and disbelief. Obama doesn't look at him with judgment. There's no edge in his tone, just clarity. You see, every generation thinks it's tougher, sharper, more awake than the one before. And that's fine. That's what youth is for. But courage? He pauses, eyes sweeping the audience. Courage doesn't change. Only the spotlight does. A low murmur moves through the room. Someone claps, then stops, afraid to interrupt. He glances toward Barron now, not as an opponent, but as a student who doesn't yet know he's in a lesson. Real leadership, he says, isn't about how loud you can speak truth to power. It's about whether you can speak truth when power belongs to you. A hush falls. The moderators exchange glances. Obama's words are cutting through without ever aiming to wound. When I was your age, he continues, I thought leadership meant proving you were the smartest person in the room. Turns out it's about listening long enough to make sure everyone else has a voice too, because strength without empathy is just a louder kind of weakness. Barron's eyes drop to the table. The line hits, not as humiliation, but as revelation. Obama leans back now, voice softer but even more commanding. Anybody can go viral. Anybody can win a headline. But ask yourself, when the lights go off, when the cameras leave, what's left? Do people trust you?
Do they believe you made their lives better?
Because that's what leadership is, not the moment. The memory. The silence that follows isn't awkward. It's reverent. The crowd doesn't know whether to clap or just breathe it in. On screen, live viewers are already typing furiously, "That was poetry." A masterclass in restraint. He just schooled him, with grace. And Obama, still calm, finishes with a faint smile. Someday you'll be sitting where I am, and someone younger than you will ask the same question. When that happens, I hope you remember this. Leadership isn't inherited. It's earned, moment by moment, choice by choice. He closes his notebook, as if the conversation's already been written into history. The audience rises, applause building like a wave. Barron sits back, face unreadable, somewhere between admiration and reflection. Cameras flash. The clip is already traveling across the internet, millions replaying that single minute of quiet authority. The moderators finally speak, voices trembling. "Mr. President." "Thank you." But Obama's gaze stays on Barron, the faintest nod of respect between them. An acknowledgement, not of defeat, but of understanding. The crowd roars. The internet explodes. The moment becomes legend. And yet, the narrator's voice slides in over the noise, cool and haunting. But the real story wasn't the words. It was what happened next. Screens light up across the world, from newsrooms to dorm rooms, from offices to kitchen tables. Within minutes, the clip dominates every feed. The Obama answer trends first. Then, leadership as character follows, climbing past celebrity scandals and sports scores. Anchors replay the moment on loop. Obama's calm delivery, Barron's stunned expression, the audience's silent awe. One commentator leans forward on air, voice hushed. It wasn't just a comeback. It was a masterclass in composure. Another calls it the line that ended an argument without a single raised voice. Montages flood TikTok and YouTube, slow-motion edits, cinematic music underscoring each syllable. On one side of the split screen, Barron, motionless. On the other, Obama, still steady, unflinching. The contrast becomes the meme of the week, not mocking but symbolic. Reaction clips pour in, a high school debate team in Chicago cheering. A college student whispering, "That changed how I see leadership." A veteran saying, "That's the difference between leading with power and leading with purpose." The internet, for once, seems united in awe. Comment sections read like confessionals. "I didn't agree with him politically, but that was class." "This is what we've been missing. Dignity." Major networks cut to think pieces. Analysts describe it as the generational check no one saw coming. Universities start using the exchange and communication courses. Within days, the phrase leadership as character becomes both slogan and lesson, printed on posters, echoed in podcasts, dissected in lectures. Meanwhile, memes continue spreading. Screenshots of Barron's frozen reaction paired with captions like, "When the teacher grades your confidence." Yet the tone isn't cruel. Even critics note the respect in Obama's restraint. The summit that began as another political event transforms into a cultural moment, a reminder that calm can be more disarming than confrontation. Narrator fades in over the final montage. In an age of noise, one quiet answer shook the nation, not because it was sharp, but because it was true. The applause, the headlines, the viral threads all fade to black, and then the voice returns. Yet the most powerful moment wasn't the applause. It was what Obama said once the cameras stopped rolling. Backstage, the noise of the crowd dissolves into a low hum. The lights dim, the cameras shut off, and the tension that filled the air moments ago softens into quiet reflection. A young student, maybe 16, maybe 17, approaches Obama with a notebook trembling in hand. She hesitates, then asks softly, "How did you stay so calm when everyone was waiting for a fight?" Obama smiles, that same unhurried warmth in his eyes. He places a hand on her shoulder and says, almost in a whisper, "You don't have to raise your voice to raise your impact." The words linger, not just for her, but for everyone watching the replay later that night. The narrator's voice returns, calm and steady. That single sentence became the echo of the entire exchange. The reminder that leadership isn't about volume, it's about vision. Influence isn't about being seen, it's about being steady when it matters most. Cut to a montage of reactions, students repeating the line in classrooms. Clips of commentators dissecting its meaning. He didn't just win the exchange, he elevated it. Families sharing the video, parents telling their kids, that's what strength looks like. Across the country, something rare happens. Agreement. For one brief moment, people stop arguing about sides and start reflecting on substance. The narrator continues, drawing the moral thread tight. True leadership isn't noise, it's legacy. Wisdom outlasts power. Character outshines charisma. The screen shows Obama walking down a quiet hallway, jacket slung over his shoulder, phone in hand. No entourage, no spotlight, just the calm presence of a man who said what he needed to say. Social feeds slow, but the quote remains. Shared, reposted, rewritten. You don't have to raise your voice to raise your impact. The music fades to a single, steady note as the narrator closes. And as the clip fades, one truth remains. Silence can be louder than any insult. The lights fade to a soft gold as the narrator's voice returns. Quieter now, but filled with conviction. Barron's question tested leadership. Obama's reply defined it. Clips of the exchange replay in slow motion. Barron's confident challenge, Obama's steady gaze, the silence before the words that changed everything. In an era where volume often replaces vision, this moment reminded millions that true power isn't measured in decibels. It's measured in dignity. The camera drifts across faces. Students, veterans, parents, people who saw more than a debate. They saw a lesson. The narrator continues, voice rising with purpose. Because leadership isn't about silencing others. It's about steadying the noise. It's about showing that composure isn't weakness, it's mastery. And when chaos fills the room, the calmest voice wins. A pause. Then the music swells, hopeful, cinematic, like the close of a film that leaves you thinking long after the credits roll. If you believe composure is power, hit subscribe. If you believe words can heal more than harm, share this story. Because the next generation of leaders is watching and learning. Cut to flashes of Obama mentoring young activists, shaking hands with students, smiling at children holding homemade leadership as character signs. Moments like this don't just define politics. They define people. They remind us that respect still matters, that grace still inspires, that truth might calmly spoken but still echoes the loudest. The screen fades to black. White text appears slowly, one line at a time. The legacy continues, not in echoes but in examples. Soft piano fades out. A heartbeat of silence follows, and then the final whisper, because leadership